On Draenor, old rivals sought to bring Azeroth to its knees. And while the Iron Tide was quelled, they were but servants of a more ancient foe that has not forgotten our defiance. The vengeance of the Burning Shadow has come. And in our most desperate hour, we must wield the power of the enemy against them. For we stand once more upon the brink of destruction. The Burning Legion has returned.
My son, a terrible darkness has returned to our world. As before, it seeks to annihilate everything that we hold dear. I go to face it, knowing I may not return.
They're coming! They're coming back!
All my life I have lived by the sword. I've seen kingdoms burn, and watched brave heroes die in vain. It's been difficult for me to trust after losing so much. But from you, I have learned patience, tolerance, and faith. Open fire! Anduin, I now believe, as you do, that peace is the noblest aspiration. But to preserve it, you must be willing to fight. For Azeroth!
So, enough hype for you guys? Yes, I know that was a few trailers, but I really wanted to build up the hype for this. Because, well, we have now reached Legion. And I've wrestled with this for a long time, but honestly, I really do have to say that Legion is my favorite expansion, with Wrath and Pandaria not too far behind. I do love Wrath and I do love Pandaria, but Legion, there's so many things about Legion that I love, and I keep going back to Legion when it comes to like doing older content. There's still stuff in Legion I want to do, on other classes and such. And that's one of the things, was that it was one of the expansions where I actually wanted to play every class. How often does that happen? Think about that. There's just so many things about Legion and their approach and the way, with their designs and such. I've referred to this before, how behind the scenes, a number of longtime members of the development team for Blizzard on the World of Warcraft team, they worked on Blizzard, or not worked on Blizzard, they worked on Legion, they did their part, and then they retired. They bowed out. They considered Legion to be the finale of their work and time with Legion, which is how Legion felt. Legion wrapped up so many different things, plot threads that went all the way back to Warcraft 1. There were so many different plot threads that had been left dangling and unfinished. Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, Vanilla, different times and such, different expansions, periods of time, and Legion wrapped up so many of them. Just, finally gave some kind of conclusion or resolution to them. It was amazing what they did. It's no wonder they asked for more time to work on this expansion, which led to Warlords of Draenor becoming a thing, because they needed more time, because there is so much stuff in this expansion. So much content, so much good stuff. Now, I know some people disagree. There are some things about Legion they hated. I understand that. The stuff with the Legendary, some of their endgame content stuff. But oh my gosh, you just look at the quality of the content and the writing and just so many things. I love Legion to death so much. Now, funnily enough, the first raid of Legion doesn't necessarily have to directly do with the Burning Legion. By the way, can I do want to comment. That was such a great reveal. You start off with the one teaser with Gul'dan finding Illidan's corpse, which they added in that, as you saw, they added Legion at the bottom. When they first revealed it, it didn't say Legion, just said World of Warcraft, and people were like, oh my gosh, Illidan! But they didn't know what the expansion was. And then they followed it up with the announcement trailer with Khadgar narrating, which I love. I love the voice actor for Khadgar. I love Khadgar too, but the voice actor for Khadgar is so good. What's funny is he plays Odin. We'll be hearing him in the next raid. Which, by the way, in case you're wondering, I did figure out a way to be able to actually pull that off with my Death Knight, utilizing my ghoul. But I'll show that in the next video. I'm still going to test out the Covenant of Shavara to see how long it's going to be before I can do Antorus. But we'll see. After all, I'm not doing these on Mythic. I'm just going to do these on Normal. Not really a reason to actually do these on Mythic, other than Nighthold for me to actually get an attempt on that mount, but whatever, I can just do that separately. Gosh, there's so many things I gotta talk about before we even start this, because of this raid. There's so many things about this raid that we have to talk about. so many different talking points and such. I'll get to why I'm on my priest here in just a moment. I may end up doing this on my death knight. We may end up having to switch depending on how she does, because she's only 51 and she's not that well geared. So we'll see how this goes. If she can't pull it off, I'll just tell you about the unique thing that you get, because she has Xalatath, and there's a reason why I'm bringing her here. But, oh my gosh, where do I even start? When they announced this expansion, they announced that the first raid was going to be the Emerald Nightmare. Now, this was a huge deal for lore people like myself and others, because the Emerald Dream has been teased since vanilla. You go back to the Wailing Caverns, and you go back to this quest line that you could do back in the day, and that had this thing I believe was called Marrow Grain, which were those initial hints about the nightmare. Now, the dream was something that they actually intended to do some more on and follow up on, but they really didn't get to do that. But it was being teased throughout vanilla. If you were paying attention, especially during the times where we went to go save Narlex in the Wailing Caverns, you saw it there. Plus the amount of times that we encountered green dragons. The teasing for the Emerald Dream was everywhere, going back to vanilla and onwards. But they were never able to follow up on it. Not really. There were constant references and talks about it, but that was basically it. They didn't really get to follow up on like a big storyline culmination, like what they did with a couple of different things in vanilla, like the stuff with the Black Dragonflight. Well, not that. Excuse me, with the Defias, which they culminated with Netherian, the stuff going on with the Dark Horde and the Dark Iron Dwarves, which culminated in the Ragnaros Molten Core raid, and the stuff with the Silithid, which of course culminated in the Cthulhu raid in Ahn'Qiraj. But the Emerald Dream was just never followed up on. So when this was announced, it was a huge deal. There's also some other things going on here as well that made this a big deal. Now, for those of you who don't know what the Emerald Dream is, it's interesting because it's kind of a template. So, when the Titans were creating Azeroth, they basically made the Emerald Dream and used it as a template to help create the rest of Azeroth. It's basically like a subplane under of Azeroth that they use for this kind of purpose. And that's also where they also entrusted Ysera in order to basically help watch over Azeroth through the dream. That's why they call her the Mother of Dreams. She was basically like the person that was able to do that. So just if you want the official, or one of the officials, this is from Wowpedia I found, to give you an idea, the Emerald Dream is a vast and ever-shifting dimension of spirits and nature magic that defies mortal perceptions of reality. Time and distance hold no meaning in this intangible realm, and a day on the physical world and feel like decades in the dream. This is why the time differential and feeling of that can be felt with characters like Malfurion, who spends quite a bit of time in there. Now it says the dream's purpose is that it is under the protection of the green dragon aspect Ysera. After the Titans had shaped Azeroth, they sent Ysera into an eternal trance, and they charged her with watching over all of Azeroth from the dream. As a result, the green dragons guard every portal into the dream, and they always see both the landscape of Azeroth and the corresponding dreamscape. This enchanted vision, known as Dream Sight, allows green dragons to perceive their surroundings with perfect clarity despite the dragon's closed eyes. Now, what's interesting is that we have also found out that there's a possible link between the Emerald Dream and Ardenweald, which makes sense, given what we have been finding out in Ardenweald in Shadowlands, but that's a separate thing. Now, in case you're wondering, okay, that's the Emerald Dream, okay, so why are we here? What's the Emerald Nightmare? Well, the Emerald Nightmare is a little different, but in order to get to what the Emerald Nightmare is, we have to get familiar with someone else who we are going to be encountering in this raid. Someone known as Xavius. Xavius was a powerful highborn elf and user of magic. He was the High Counselor to Queen Azshara. Yes, this was back when the Night Elves and Queen Azshara were the Empire. This was after the Trolls had their fall and the Night Elves had their rise. Xavius was the counselor to Queen Azshara for over 10,000 years ago. This is back around the time of the War of the Ancients. Known for his lack of eyes, which he replaced with ebony orbs streaked with ruby. With these magical eyes, he saw far more than that of normal eyes. He is perhaps the Night Elf who was responsible for the Burning Legion's interest in Azeroth. Xavius, being the highest of the Highborn, who were tapped into the power of the Well of Eternity for some time, drew the attention of the Burning Legion. Being the first to make contact with Sargeras, it was Lord Xavius who first became convinced that Sargeras, the ruler of the Burning Legion, was a god sent to deliver Azeroth. Having witnessed this godlike being, Lord Xavius, Queen Azshara and the Highborn wanted to have the power to cleanse the land of imperfections and create a perfect paradise in the name of the Emperor. Oh, wait, no, sorry, wrong setting. But, yeah. Very quick to just turn on everybody, Xavius and Azshara, huh? Just kind of making sure I didn't lose my place here. So, Xavius convinced Azshara of the necessity of turning the will of her mages towards creating a portal into the Twisting Nether through which Sargeras and the Legion could enter the world. This is the part of the connection as to why we're doing this raid, and why it has some kind of connection to the Burning Legion, even though it's actually kind of light. Because whether or not this has more to do with the Legion or the old gods, that's, well, when we get to a certain boss in here, you'll understand. But that's the connection between Xavius and the Burning Legion, is that the idea is that he is doing this to distract us from the Burning Legion's invasion here in Legion, on behalf of his lord and god Sargeras. So, that allowed some other known Felguard, including Hakar the Houndmaster and Manaroth, before the intervention of the young druid Malfurion Stormrage, as suggested by Azshara, Lord Xavius executed a plot to block any non-Highborn magic user from accessing the well. This allowed the Highborn to channel the extra energy gained into making the portal to the Twisting Nether strong enough for Sargeras to cross through. Lord Xavius' plot was ruined by Malfurion, who, after entering the Emerald Dream, destroyed the spell array holding the block and the portal, and in the battle that ensued, Malfurion destroyed Xavius completely. I'm holding off on showing you Xavius on the screen right now from the journal because, well, let's just say I'd like to kind of save his visual from when we actually get to him because, oh boy, he is quite the sight. And that's kind of important because we get to see the true version of him compared to the fake version we've been seeing throughout this zone of Val'Sharah. Lord Xavius' master, Sargeras, was unhappy with him, and he faced punishment for his failures. Sargeras tortured Xavius' disembodied spirit for a time, but eventually he showed a form of mercy. He decided that Lord Xavius could be of further use after all. He returned Xavius to life, but not as he once was. To mock the traits that Sargeras valued in him, and to brand him forever as an ally and servant of the Legion, Sargeras transformed and disfigured Lord Xavius' body. He created a new body for Xavius, a body with cloven hooves, shaggy goat legs, goat-like horns, razor-sharp claws, and a long, leonine tail. A satyr. The first. Xavius had a two-pronged mission when he returned. First, he would begin converting as many Highborn as possible into satyrs, and the second was to complete, upon his return, was to bring back to Sargeras the one who had destroyed the portal, Malfurion. The second proved to be far more difficult, and in a confrontation during one of the most intense battles of the War of the Ancients, Malfurion, with help from a young night elf named Shandris Feathermoon, was able to completely defeat Xavius. Using an arrow shot by Shandris, Malfurion was able to kill Xavius by growing a tree which absorbed his energy and body, which was subsequently sent to the bottom of the sea in the Great Sundering. This was the second time that Xavius had died at the hands of Malfurion. The victory came at a great cost, however, as during this confrontation, Malfurion's love, Tyrande Whisperwind, was captured by Xavius' remaining satyrs. In a furious rage, Malfurion almost drowned the entire Night Elf-Elven army in a torrential storm caused by his own sadness over the loss of Tyrande. Tyrande! The stuff here with the two of them, oh my gosh, that's in this zone is so funny. Just when Xavius is impersonating Malfurion, "Where are you, Tyrande? I need you," and Tyrande falls for it. It's hysterical, but it's like face-palmingly bad, but it's funny, just because of how pathetically bad it is, and the fact that she keeps falling for it is just, oh my gosh, how can you not tell that's not Malfurion? However, it is unlikely for an Eternal to be completely destroyed. They may regenerate or continue on in non-corporeal form. After the sundering of the world, the Eternal Satyr Lord Xavius sought to build his dark army without attracting Elun's attention. Night Elves still fear that he may yet be waiting to take his final revenge upon the Kaldurai. The satyrs of Kalimdor's perverted forests worship Lord Xavius. He sows discord and mistrust, and his satyr children take their trickster natures from his guidance. It is uncertain whether the satyrs still found in Ashenvale Forest and elsewhere are still directly following the will of the Satyr Lord, or merely following his path. Satyr tricksters in particular revere and mimic Xavius' manipulations of his enemies. The Nightmare Lord. The tree containing the remains of Xavius' soul survived the sundering through unrevealed means, though given his later state and presumed allegiance to the old gods. It is likely that they intervened, much the same way that they did for Azshara. 10,000 years later, Xavius came to lead the Emerald Nightmare as the Nightmare Lord. In this form, Xavius orchestrated the corruption of the Emerald Dream by manipulating Fandral Staghelm. I can show you him. Right here. Into planting a branch of Xavius' own tree into Teldrassil, ensuring that the New World Tree would be corrupted from the start. His plans culminated in a daring attempt to bind Azeroth and the Emerald Dream into one plane, seizing control of Azeroth's residents while they slept and giving shape to their nightmares. He nearly succeeded, but was ultimately defeated by the reawakened Malfurion, who was assisted by Tyrande, Brolbear Mantle, Ysera, Irenicus, and a host of others. This is referring to a book that was known as Storm Rage, which took place between Wrath and Cataclysm, which actually covered these events here. When in the form of the Nightmare Lord, Xavius is described as being a massive gnarled tree, greatly obscured by the dark fog of the Nightmare. He delights in torturing Malfurion in various ways, both psychologically, such as showing him Tyrande as the lover of Illidan, being turned into a demon, and physically, slowly turning him into a tree, for example. Just going to double check if there's anything else about the Emerald Nightmare I should let you guys know about in terms of how it works and functions. The nature of the nightmare. The dream is not a place of total perfection. It can be shaped and twisted by dreams, usually without a sleeper's knowledge. Sadly, nightmares are themselves a crafting of the subconscious and have given rise to their own place within the dream. The nightmare, as the denizens call it, is not a specific location, but a constantly roaming effect that travels about unpredictably. The skies above the nightmare are constantly clouded, creating a gloomy, depressing zone that weakens and deadens everything it touches. I'll actually showcase this to you when we actually get inside the raid. Just the visual design of the raid is just so good. The beautiful green vegetation is twisted into brown decay, while ordinarily peaceful creatures are corrupted into shadowy, mutated versions of themselves known as Corrupted Ones. Worse still, some dream travelers who enter the nightmare or are engulfed by its movements become trapped in the Emerald Dream. They cannot leave, so their bodies back on Azeroth remain in a permanent sleep, slowly starving to death unless tended by helpful aids. Now I want to give you guys a bit more about the plot that happened in the Stormrage book. I've heard some people say it wasn't a very good book. But this did take place before Cataclysm, so it does kind of matter. I'm kind of fast-forwarding here towards the end here in this little summary here. Because it starts off where apparently he was, and they didn't know it was him, the people of Goldshire, I believe, were actually having their minds, like, taken over. Like, they couldn't wake up out of their... Imagine, like, how in those Nightmare on Elm Street movies, how when someone's being tormented in their nightmares by Freddy Krueger, that they can't wake up. Like, because he has it where they are unable to wake up because of how he's got them trapped in the nightmare. That's kind of what it's like when you are trapped by the Emerald Nightmare in Xavius. Da-da-da-da. With Veronica's help, they make their way to the heart of the dream, where they discover that the shadow of the tree was cast by the Nightmare Lord himself. Malfurion finds out when the tree is shown to have blood for sap that it is actually his nemesis from the War of the Ancients, Lord Xavius. This is the origin of the mysterious fortress. It was an apparition of Xavius' castle in Ajara before the Sundering. He initially survived Malfurion's spell, transforming him into a tree during the War of the Ancients, and has since entered the dream in this form and taken on its corruption. Irenicus gives his life in the hero's defense, and with the help of Ysera, Malfurion destroys Lord Xavius yet again. Keep that in mind for what happened in this zone of Al-Shara and what Xavius did to Ysera. Hamul and Broll discover that Staghelm has actually been tricked into believing that his dead son Valstan was alive again, when it was really a vision that was given to him by the Nightmare Lord. This plays a part into why he eventually becomes this in the Firelands. Through this vision, he made Fandral graft a branch of Xavius' tree form onto Teldrassil, which is the source of its corruption. He has also been the one keeping Malfurion from leaving the dream using Marrow Grain. That's what I was talking about, that little quest where we find out first about the Marrow Grain, and it's the hints about the nightmare. Fandral is taken to Moonglade to recover after he is discovered, and the branch is broken off. Now that they have destroyed the ostensible corruptor of the dream, the sleeping sickness fades, and the sleepers who weren't killed wake up. Malfurion promises never to leave Tyrande again, and the two get married in Darnassus with many alliance nobles and even Alexstrasza and Ysera in attendance. However, though Xavius was ruling over the nightmare, it is strongly suggested that a much larger and unseen malevolent force is behind even his actions, with the implication that the old gods are responsible. Dun dun dun! That becomes a little bit more of a legitimate hint in this actual raid here when we encounter a certain boss in here. Let's see, is there anything else? So there's a couple of things I have here, but that's for when we actually get inside. So yeah, you're probably going, well, if Malfurion killed him in that book, then how is he here? Well, remember, Sargeras already brought Xavius back. Who's to say that when the Legion came back here that he didn't bring him back yet again to utilize this Emerald Nightmare to distract them while we are having to deal with the Legion invasion? In fact, Malfurion even comments on this as we're going through the raid. Malfurion is actually going to be going with us in here to an extent, though, because him joining us here is extremely dangerous. Now, you're probably noticing, aren't we in the nightmare? No, we're actually not. This is in Val'Sharad. This is the physical plane, which is being corrupted by the nightmare. We're not actually in the plane of the Emerald Nightmare yet. That portal is going to take us into the dream, which is the Emerald, also currently being corrupted by the Emerald Nightmare. So we are actually going to be stepping into the actual plane of the Emerald Dream, and we'll see various different parts of this, because they really wanted to showcase each of the different parts of this that they could, since, of course, as I said, they've been teasing this since vanilla. So they wanted to try and showcase as much of this as they could in the best fashion that they could. But yeah, once we actually go in here, this is where things can become more real, because we did go into the Darkheart Thicket dungeon to face his shade, but as Malfurion was saying, that was only his shade, and this is only a little physical plane portion with the corruption, not actually his real source of nightmare, not, where he actually is. So it's different. Once we actually go inside there, it's going to be more dangerous, it's going to be stronger, but we'll actually be able to actually take down the source legit in there. It's the same thing with other different planes we've gone to, where once we actually go in there, yes, it's more dangerous, but we are able to actually get a more definitive victory against them. So yeah, Malfurion's going to be going with us. Not to mention also, a couple of notable people have been abducted up until this point. Ursoc was abducted in front of the druid when we went to go get his claws. Cenarius was abducted as we were questing in Val'Sharah. And we're going to see a couple of others. A couple of which I believe are supposed to be, Green Dragon references. And I'll, of course, be going over these in the guide. I'll try to do what I can when it comes to showing off the fights. Like I said, I'm going to try and do this on my Shadow Priest because I have Xal'atath equipped on her, and I'm bringing Xal'atath here for a couple of specific reasons. If I can't do this, because the thing is, this character is not very well geared. You can see she's only level 87. Item level 87, I mean. She has a couple of pieces from BFA here, but like this one, like, I don't know. If she can't pull it off, I'll just switch over to another character, which is much higher geared and can handle this easily. That's why I'm going to try and just do this on normal. But yeah. I'll give this a try. If I can't do it, I'll just switch. No big deal. So what do you say we actually now, after half an hour, almost 40 minutes, what do you say we actually step inside the raid? If you guys have stuck with me this long, just listening to me talk and just watching those trailers, man, I really appreciate you guys. More than you could possibly understand. So, the summoning stone is over here, by the way. It's right here, because it's, of course, used not just for the raid, but the dungeon is also right over here. Right over here is the entrance to the Darkheart Thicket. Hi, Iron Branch. But it's time to finally step inside the Emerald Nightmare. Gosh, the visual design of the Nightmare is just so good. And the music here is just so great.
Bent to the will of Xavius, who serves the god of the deep. Instead of breathing life, she consumes all around her.
So yeah, that's why I brought Xal'atath. And that's why I continue to have Xal'atath transmogged. Thank you, I know I can talk. But yeah, she has various quotes throughout. This is why I kept telling people, try to play, as a Shadow Priest, in Legion. Because you'll get a number of interesting things, as Xal'atath will tell you. But, hold on a second, let me turn up the music a bit. Because the music is so good and so creepy. Yeah, by the way, I had my Shadow Priest go Necro. Basically, all the things we're recommending that you go Necro if you're a Shadow Priest. Ooh, boy. So, by the way, I've heard this trash is very hated. Because when one of them dies, they explode into a bunch of AoE damage and knockback. The idea is that you're supposed to do these one at a time. But let's just say there were times back in the day where people would pull them all and just kill them all at the same time.
It's too far away.
Which did a lot of damage and usually would result in actually killing people. That's the Necro Priest ability, by the way. Unholy Nova.
I don't have a target.
There, see that knockback right there? Yeah. Now imagine that happening with all of them. So, this is Nythendra. Nythendra was once a member of the Green Dragon Flight, charged with guarding the World Tree Shaladrisil. When Xavius' corruption of the Nightmare consumed Shaladrisil, it consumed the Sleeping Guardian as well. Nythendra is now nothing more than a skeletal version of herself, swarming in pestilence, ready to devour anyone or anything foolish enough to enter her lair. So I'm going to try and actually pull this off because I believe there is a mind control mechanic in this, so once that happens, it'll reset the fight. So, yeah, I can't really show off the fight all that much, so...
The dream has changed, yet I will protect it still.
Yep.
Life is a disease!
Lots of rot damage. Ooh, boy.
You have no more need of this life.
It's like, you don't need that life anymore.
I dream the
Did you feel
dream.
it cease to exist?
Now I wake.
Alas, poor Nythendra. She served faithfully as guardian of the dream, only to be perverted into a gatekeeper of corruption.
So yeah, this is not... this is pretty rough on Malfurion. After all, he knew a bunch of these people. Like you just heard him say, he knew Nythendra.
I need to target someone first.
So yeah, this gauntlet can be a little rough. Gosh, I hate it when they do that. That teleport behind my back thing, I hate that so much. Stop it! Oh my goodness. So you can see lots of corrupted enemies, lots of satyrs, corrupted ancients, and some nightmares. In fact, if you walk through here, you'll see it right here. Ah, lurking horror! Oh, hey, had a little minion show up to help me out. So yeah, I can't mount in this little portion here. You'll be able to mount later, though. Not really sure why it stopped the really good music here. Like, oh, why'd you stop the music? By the way, I turned off all my add-ons because I wanted to make sure that whatever it was that was actually blocking the little dialogue was gonna stop, because I was convinced it was an add-on doing that. I just didn't know which one. But I didn't want to cut off Malfurion's dialogue because it kind of matters, you know? Ooh. Look at that big AoE dot I just put on them. Ooh. That's gonna, you know, make me like playing my Shadow Priest a little bit more. However, I will say, if that's one of my only AoEs, that's one of the things I've heard some people say that they are not too fond of Shadow these days, is they feel like it's lacking AoE. Really too much of an emphasis on single target, which makes them great in raids, but sometimes, you know, you need a bit of AoE just to deal with, you know, trash and stuff. I know other classes can do that well, like, of course, my Death Knight can handle AoE really well, but being able to have that kind of AoE with something like Unholy Nova just seems really nice.
I don't have a target.
Alright, we're almost there. Yeah, that stacking debuff just slows me down. Gotta get Shadow back out.
I have faced the nightmare before, but never has it had so thorough a stranglehold on the dream. It hungers, desperate to seed its corruption. Do not let its whispers seduce you into madness.
So just showing off those drakes there that are above us. You can see the fog. Look at... You see what I was telling you earlier about the plants? These are eyes, by the way.
This iris. It is a portal that leads to Moonglade. But the way has been sealed by dark magic. We must sever the tendrils of power that bind it. From each of these pathways, a palpable evil emanates. Choose a course, and know that I will stand with you.
Like I said, him being here is dangerous. He's willing to go with us, but only to an extent. By the way, eyeballs. Every one of them. Yep. Squish, 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 squish. Yeah. Walking on eyeballs. Tell me that doesn't gross you out. You can see the wisps over there. It's like I told you about the way the sky looks in the nightmare. Gosh, the people who worked on the visual design of the nightmare, those people deserve a raise, a bonus. What they did is awesome. By the way, you can also see the little indicators here as to where each of these are going. That's going to Ungoro Crater. That's going to Thunder Bluff. That'll be going to the actual Emerald Walkway that druids use. And this is well, I'll just show you. By the way, Malfurion, of course, has a skip quest here.
May Elune grant us strength.
If we do not stop Xavius, the nightmare will consume all of Azeroth. The darkness of the nightmare is like a heavy shroud, warping reality and altering the perception of all living things. As areas of the dream are cleansed, Xavius' hold weakens, and the way to the heart of the nightmare will be revealed. But there might be a more direct way. My teacher once spoke of a pure power that could illuminate the darkness of the nightmare, and allow all paths to become clear. But alas, Cenarius is lost.
So yeah, you get these things from Cenarius, and then you turn them into Malfurion, and you get the skip. This is nice if you're farming certain things in this raid, which there are a couple of noble things. Welcome to Grizzly Hills. This one makes me sad because of what happened in Shadowlands. Hey, don't mind me. I said don't mind me.
I need to target
That's another nice little AoE ability I have here. Yeah, it takes a while when you're doing this by yourself, especially if you're under-geared and under-leveled like my character here is.
target something first.
Tur Rage Paw. So in case you're wondering, why are we going to Grizzly Hills? We'll get there.
Something first.
Please help me and listen to what I have to say. Thank you. My communing with nature has brought me back to this location. There is a foulness in the area we must purge. You guys ready to be sad? Ah.
The nightmare consumes me, compels me to serve, to kill.
Oh no.
If you need further proof of how insidious the nightmare is, look there. Even the fierce heart of Ursoc has succumbed. Release him, I beg you!
Ursoc's spirit has once more been captured? Quickly, friends, I will help as best I can. Oh, this makes me so sad. Some of us thought he would eventually come back after this. And then the Ardenweald animation came out. And many of us were devastated. This is the last time that we ever get to see Ursoc outside of the animation. Ursoc is one of the wild gods, patron of the Furbog, and closely linked to the druidic power of shapeshifting. The ancient Great Bear has long been a protector of Azeroth. But as Ursoc slumbered at his shrine in the Grizzly Hills, the world around him was plunged into corruption, and he awoke to torment and nightmare, consuming and twisting his being. Now, there are actually a couple of secret appearances for your artifact weapons that you can actually get off of Ursoc. You can't gain them for the priest. However, you can get them. They don't show them here, but you can get them for your hunter, survival hunter specifically, and your guardian druid. He drops an extra bear form. Now, if you want to actually look like Ursoc, like that is the PvP appearance. Now, you can get a few different color variations of that, but if you want that specific color tint, you're going to have to get your honor level up to level 80. Yup. I would love to have that, but who knows. I doubt I'm ever going to play PvP that much in this game. But this makes me sad because, well, us defeating him here sends him to Ardenweald, which, given what's going on in Ardenweald... Goodbye, Ursoc.
You should have fled. Now, I'll feed your bones to the storm crows! Stamp and trample, crush and crumple! Nightmare's veil is lifted. I return at last to the long slumber.
Truly, there was never a soul more noble than Ursoc's. I pray his spirit finds its way back to the dream.
That's the line he said in the animation. The nightmare's veil is lifted. I return at last to the long slumber. The only line we didn't hear him say from the animation was him saying, "The wilds tremble before my fury!" I'm sorry, Ursoc. You were a great bear. But then again, as I have also said in other videos, a lot of people die in Legion.
This was the Emerald Dreamway. During my long slumber, it was here I communed with the green dragonfly. Now, this sacred place has been made into a conduit for the nightmare to spread its corruption. This we cannot allow.
I don't have a target.
I am void.
So yeah, this is the actual Emerald Dreamway that you can use as a druid. You can even see it here on the map. The different portals to different places. Which is a great fast travel for druids. I love it out on my druid. So these are the Dragons of Nightmare. Ysandra and Emerus. The Emerald Dream was entrusted to Ysera for safekeeping, and the mightiest of her green dragon brood were assigned to stand watch over 4 portals that connected directly to Azeroth. But even before the Cataclysm, these dragons began to show signs of corruption. Now, the path to the Nightmare's core runs through the Dragon's Lair. If my memory recalls correctly, these two are actually names that we should remember from back in the day.
The strands of life have been severed. The dreamers must be avenged. Hope is a disease of the soul.
I
This
can
land
sense
shall
the
wither
shadow
and
on your
die.
hearts. There can be no rest for the wicked.
Taste the nightmare's corruption. Come forth, dreamers, and claim your vengeance. At last, the long dream comes.
Oh, Ysandra, how cruel fate can be. Cleansed of the nightmare once before, only to become its victim yet again. Some wounds never truly heal. May you find peace at last, old friend.
Yeah. It should also be noted that throughout our time
Deals for a friend of the Grummles, like you.
dealing with the Nightmare, it's been reminded to us that once you have been corrupted and taken by the Nightmare, there is no saving you.
Good fortune to our friends.
Which is why there's this sense of dread and finality to us defeating these, especially people we know like Ursoc and even Cenarius, that we are not going to be able to actually save them. We actually have to kill them to save them from this torment. Now this one, Thunderbluff. You can see it there in the background. I almost want to make a joke that that's what Sylvanas wanted to do to Thunderbluff during the events of BFA, but I'd rather not.
What manner of foul creature is this? It seems poised to unleash its corruption upon Thunder Bluff. The spirit of the Torrent people must not fall prey to the nightmare.
What was that indeed? Now, there is some extra dialogue here. I'm hoping it's actually going to play. There have been times where I actually have not had it play.
I need to get closer.
Yeah, I'm not getting this dialogue that I think I've heard before. really wish I would get it to play. So I don't know why her dialogue isn't playing, unfortunately. I'm sorry. Nothing I can really do about it. Sometimes the dialogue plays, sometimes it doesn't. This is Elerith Renferal. Elerith, once a mighty druid and adept shapeshifter, was led down a dark path by the belief that she was betrayed by her closest allies. Her consciousness now resides in the nightmare, damning her to an existence of fear, confusion, and hatred. By the way, she is a druid using a spider form. On one hand, I say ew, because of how much I hate spiders. On the other hand, why hasn't this been made available for us? Why can't we get this kind of form as a druid in gameplay? Just saying, Blizz, come on. We're druids. Let us be able to have more forms. Doesn't have to be for gameplay. Just let us have it for cosmetic. Just for fun. Please.
This time I'm ready for your treachery! I'll adorn my web with your bones! Juicy morsels.
So this is dangerous because she gets a buff for the ads, and if you don't take out the ads, she continues to just absolutely wreck.
Betrayers, will you remember killing me now?
The illusion of corruption falls away. Behold, a druid who was as a sister to me, Elerith Renferal. I feel her loss keenly, heroes. The Twilight's hammer ambushed and murdered Elerith, misleading her into believing Hamul Rune Totem played a part in her death. It seems her spirit was so twisted that she sought to take vengeance upon all of Thunderbluff. You had a deep love for the lands of Alterac, old friend. I vow to tend the veil in your name.
I farmed this boss a lot. She dropped a couple of pieces for mythic sets I wanted. Every time I came here with mythic Mog runs in groups, I kept hoping she would finally drop those pieces. She eventually did. I have Mog run this place a lot. Okay. Time for one of the big ones here. I actually pulled up a couple of pages. In fact, this is one of the reasons I brought Xal'atath. This next one right here. Welcome to Ungoro Crater. Do you recognize who that is? That's Ilganov. You remember him, right? From BFA in Nyalotha? This is where we first met him. And boy, did he make an impression on many of us with a number of quotes that just caught our attention. Now, Xal'atath is supposed to say something when we encounter him. I'm hoping she's going to say it here. Maybe I have to get closer. But, yeah. Let me see if I can get closer.
What horror is this? A tumor of nightmare infecting a world tree, here in the reflection of the Titan's own playground. If this seed takes hold, the roots of its infestation will wind their way into the heart of Azeroth. The nightmare would devour our world, claiming everything, everyone. This must not come to pass!
Was foretold in the rings. The long circle is nearly complete. Come, little ones. Savor your fear as we feast upon it.
Have I ever mentioned how much I love Ilgy'Noth's voice? I love his voice. Come on, Xal'atath. Come on, Xal'atath. Okay, in case she doesn't say it, what she's supposed to say when we encounter Ilgy'Noth here is, "It appears the prison of N'Zoth is not as strong as it once was. What you see is a tiny growth of the behemoth that may yet consume your world." Now, as for the many quotes that Ilgy'Noth has, here are some of the random quotes he gave us that had people for months speculating and theory crafting and theorizing and just spending so much time, entire threads, people were discussing and debating what he was actually talking about. Flesh is his gift. He is your true creator. To find him, drown yourself in the circle of stars.
To find him, drown yourself in the circle of stars.
Okay, or you could just say it. You could just say it better than me with your amazing voice. But yeah, if you just sit here, he'll just randomly drop these quotes on you. I'm pretty sure that quote was referring to what happened in the Eternal Palace. The circle that we had to fight Ashara on in order to find N'Zoth. Pretty sure that's what that was referring to. The King of Diamonds has been made a pawn. I mean, we kind of found that out in BFA. The boy king serves at the master's table. 3 lies will he offer you. Still not entirely sure about that one. Obviously, it's referring to Anduin, but... Her heart is a crater, and we have filled it. 5 keys to open our way. 5 torches to light our path. At the hour of her 3rd death, she will usher in our coming. From the earth he draws strength. Our earth, our strength. Its surface blazes bright, masking shadows below. So yeah, some of these we've kind of been like, okay, we think we know the easy answer to this one. Some of these people just couldn't figure out. And some of these... Oh, there's one I skipped over. This is a big one. The Lord of Ravens will turn the key. Like I said, This is one of those where people had entire threads where they would discuss and debate this. Some of these have essentially been answered already. Some are still unclear. By the way, these are only the quotes that he gives us here in this raid. I'm not even giving you the quotes he gives us when we encounter him again in Ny'alotha in BFA, where he gives us even more quotes that were more riddles that we had to try and figure out. Now, I'm hoping Xal'atath is still going to say the quote here so you can hear her lovely voice when she says it. But, this fight, this is a fight you can't just come in and easily take down. This is going to be a little odd here because what you have to do is take out ads here. And they are going to spawn little ads, which you have to bring under his eye, because his eye is not going to go down easily. It has a huge shield. The only way to take down his eye to get to the core inside to defeat him is to have them just, blow up so they do the AoE damage, which takes down the eye. That's basically... And you'd be surprised how many people continue to not realize that we have to destroy them under the eye. Gosh, I see these and I'm already remembering what it was like in Ny'alotha.
At last, the feeling hour.
So I gotta go under here, so that they all come into here and join me. So you can see, 99% reduced damage taken. Gotta be under the eye. Otherwise, he ain't gonna take that much damage. Yeah. So yeah, like a little percentage, like 5% here, 5% there. Yeah, this is not a fast fight. And of course it's a giant eyeball, which is a nice little callback to what it was like fighting Cthulhu. We're almost there. Just gotta get these, a little bit more of these. Meanwhile, I keep getting these debuffs. Yeah, by the way, that silences me.
At last, the feeling hour.
Yeah. So now we get to his core and we can be able to try and unleash everything to try and take him down.
Still you fight. Still
I need to target something first.
I journey to Ny'alotha.
Yes, he does. You disappoint me, Xal'atath.
Xavius and his ancient master delight that so much of our attention goes into fighting the Legion. Their insidious shadow seeps into our world, distracting us with whispers, doubts. Pray that purging the Nightmare's corruption buys us enough time to defeat the Legion and catch our breath before the Black Armies rise up from the depths.
Very sad that Xal'atath did not say her quote. I've also tried to get her to say her quote when I encounter Odin, she just won't do it. It is an RNG thing, but still. By the way, I love the little ads back here to emphasize that this is Ungoro Crater. So now we have done what we need in order to open this and get to where Cenarius is.
Hail to the night.
The Nightmare's guardians have fallen. What else must be done to open the way to Xavius?
Behold, the iris opens. The way to Cenarius is clear. Moonglade is the most sacred place in all the dream. To think that my Shandong could play any part in its corruption. I must see with my own eyes what horrors have befallen my beloved teacher. Steel your hearts against the darkness, heroes.
By the way, I realized that I forgot to read the thing for Ilganov. Lodged in the hollows of a now decrepit world tree, Ilgy'Noth is a manifestation of the horrors that lie at the heart of the nightmare. It is a mass of corruption, a thing that should not be. Its tendrils seep through the ground, emerging in countless horrifying eye stalks and limbs. Yeah. So, just to remind you, once more, this is how he really looks in Ny'alotha. Yeah. To the Moonglade.
Cenarius. It breaks my heart to see my Shandong twisted and torn this way. If we can subdue him, I will do everything in my power to purge the vile touch of Xavius from his spirit.
Malfurion! No! It cannot be! I prayed my Theroshan would never fall to the nightmare. Yet here you stand, casting a shadow upon the purity of the dream!
Can it be? My old master is blind to the lies of Xavius, and thinks we are the source of the infancy. You have been deceived, my teacher. Xavius has twisted your perceptions. I beg of you, let me cleanse you of this evil.
Liars! Servant of darkness! It will give me no pleasure to destroy you. My duty is to the dream. Under Parador!
So, sorry. It bothered me that Malfurion just ran right past them without issue, and I was like, oh, let me do the same thing. And then they aggroed me, and, well, yeah, it interfered with the little dialogue that there was there, so. But yeah, Cenarius has things backwards at the moment. He thinks we have fallen to the nightmare. Yeah. He thinks we are illusions because of the nightmare. By the way, there's Moonglade. Yeah. That is the Rift of Alm. That is where Xavius is and is waiting for us. Aw, look at Shadow. Anyway. Let's go join Malfurion down here, shall we? I don't know how much of this fight I'll be able to actually show it to you. Cenarius. The demigod Cenarius is the father of Druidism in Azeroth, and one of Azeroth's oldest and most powerful protectors. His disturbing slumber within the groves of Al-Shara was the first sign of the depth of the growing threat from within the nightmare. That dark power now has complete hold over him, and he may lie beyond hope of redemption. There's quite a bit of dialogue here from both Cenarius and Malfurion in this fight. They're more than likely gonna be talking over each other. If that happens, sorry. I'm gonna try and see if I can be able to somehow show you guys as much of the dialogue and the story of what's going on here without, I don't think... It's hard to tell you guys about this fight because I keep... I've heard that this was not a difficult fight, but then again, part of the reputation of this raid is that it wasn't very hard in general, which is why some people have a negative viewpoint to this raid, even, including the Xavius fight, even though some people actually really do like this raid. So, we'll see.
The impurity must be cleansed. Attack the corruptors! What wickedness is this, Malfurion?
I will not lose you, Shango!
Sacred vines, entangle the corrupted! Is that you, Ursoc?
Yes, Cenarius. We are here to save you.
Sacred vines, entangle the corrupted!
Malfurion, you want to cast that cleanse ground, please?
Fight noble hearts. Would it be true? Could the darkness be inside of me?
Hold your
Sacred
weapons.
vines, entangle the corrupted! Father? Father, is that you? Sacred vines, entangle the corrupted! Yes, Father. I will not fail you.
Cenarius, do not listen to him.
Ferocious.
May Illum grant us strength.
Could you?
It is done. Cenarius is beaten, but my great teacher lives. Now, I must focus all of my strength to cleanse him. Xavius waits ahead in the Rift of Alm, the true heart of the nightmare. Would that I could fight at your side, heroes, but to this place I cannot go. My bond with the Emerald Dream gives me great power, but it also makes me vulnerable to the Rift's darkness. I have peered inside it and know this to be true. Should I step within, I will be lost, just as Cenarius was. Go, destroy the Nightmare Lord. Only this way can the dream be restored, and Azeroth be saved. We must put an end to the nightmare. Say the word, and I will take us into the heart of that twisted place.
Funnily enough, you don't have to actually ask him to do that. You can just jump in here. Which, by the way, I cannot tell you how many times I've experienced an issue where people would run straight down here, ignore the trash, aggro it. People would stay in combat even after Cenarius was killed. They would jump in here to go to where Xavius is, and you don't get the little teleport into that area because you're in combat, and therefore you just fall to the bottom of that little area there. This has cost me opportunities to farm the shoulders, and I cannot tell, it would get me so upset. So upset. piece of the normal set. So I can just jump in. Whee! Into the Rift of Aln we go. Welcome to the true heart of the nightmare. Just a bunch of empty fog. Just nothing. Almost feels kind of appropriate in a way. That's right, scatter. Now to take down some of his minions in order to draw him out of hiding, because he's in here somewhere, just kind of watching us, waiting. Gonna have his little minions come out here first. You, of course, recognize these guys, right? I mean, how many of these did we see in BFA that serve the old gods?
It's too far away.
I'll discuss Xavius in just a bit once we draw him out of hiding.
I'm out of range.
Now, if I can pull this off with this character, which it looks like I will be able to, I'll be able to show you the real reason that I brought Xalatath here.
I need to get closer. It's too far away.
And there he is. So, yeah. That's what Xavius really looks like. Now, I'm bringing that up because the entire time we were in Val'Sharah, he was making himself look like this. He looks awesome and cool and handsome and a very dashing, evil night elf satyr. He looks awesome. And now he looks like that. And boy, is he gross. He's actually got a piercing in his tongue there. It's really long. Blech. Huh. I could finally get this illusion. I don't have this illusion. I've been so wanting to get this illusion here. I've never gotten it. Fingers crossed for me, guys. They'll actually get it to drop on camera. Once a powerful mage and a counselor to Queen Azshara, Xavius forged a pact with Sargeras to enable the Legion's first invasion of Azeroth. Cursed and tormented in the wake of that defeat, Xavius plots vengeance against the world from within the Rift of Aln. Those who venture into the nightmare will face the full extent of his power, and his true form, a grotesque and distended monstrosity. I've heard a lot of people or rather, I've heard that a lot of people really don't like this raid because of this fight. I believe there is a mind control mechanic to this fight.
The nightmare has corrupted dragons, gods, and legends. Your downfall will be simple and swift.
Embrace the dream, Angel. It can save you.
Yes, Sarah.
No, I will not permit it. Time to cut the last tether to your mortal life. Time to cut the last tether to your mortal life.
Embrace the dream, Angel. It can save you.
No, I will not permit it.
Kind of trying to do so. Yes,
I'll level you one by one. Nightmares are never forgotten.
Sandra and the green dragons we've met earlier. The ones that we fought earlier. No illusion. Cenarius.
Heroes, champions, step forth and hear me. The Nightmare has long been a cancer eager to consume the Emerald Dream. Had Xavier succeeded, his corruption would have overwhelmed Azeroth, giving rise to a living nightmare. Your triumph restores the dream and safeguards your world. The allies of Xavier's will never relent. But this road, at least, is closed to them. To honor your courage, I offer passage into the pure heart of the dream. As you feel the essence of life blooming beneath your feet, know that it endures thanks to what you achieved this day.
Note the Titan device he's standing on. So yeah, we can actually go around and talk to each of the various different druids that are still here, and other wild god spirits, including the ones we just fought in this raid.
Your triumph restores the dream and safeguards your world. The allies of Xavius will never relent, but this road at least is closed to them.
This is Moonclaw, who we saw get consumed by the Nightmare in Val Shara.
There is little time.
They should have listened to me from the start and destroyed all the satyrs before this could happen. I thank you for releasing me from the madness of Xavius.
Go with speed.
Here's Eloreth, the spider boss that we fought earlier.
Goddess bless you.
You pulled me from a storm of madness, and I am forever in your debt. I know there is much that I must atone for, but at least now my nightmare has passed.
Go in peace.
This is Elothyr, who we also saw fall to the Nightmare in Val Shara.
The forest greets you.
Thank you for restoring Cenarius to his natural state. Our world has once again been saved through your deeds.
Be one with nature.
Hi, Ursoc.
Thank you. You have done what no others could.
Goodbye, Ursoc. So there's one last thing. Right here. You'll notice that's Ysera. Now, she walks back and forth. What she ends up doing... she'll keep walking back and forth. What she'll eventually do is walk over to this cave, and then she'll point to the cave, basically directing us into the cave. And when we do go in here... we find this. And this is the reason I brought this character and Xal'atath.
Almost completely gone, as if it never existed. But the rift is deep and vast, and somewhere down there it stirs. Something has changed. The last prison weakens. We must prepare.
Obviously a huge tease for what we would end up seeing in BFA. With the whole, the last prison has weakened, the whole thing with Ajara, and then we go through the Eternal Palace raid and N'Zoth gets freed. Yeah. They were really trying to tease the whole Ny'alotha thing here in Legion, especially here. After all, Xal'atath was a big tease for that. And then, of course, we have Xal'atath play a big role in BFA. So that I just wanted to show that on camera right there. Just that extra bit. You see, here's what I'm talking about. Ysera walks back into this cave, and then she'll actually point at that thing there. She's basically showing that to us. Let me see if I can actually catch her pointing at it. Well, she may not actually point at it, but she basically looks at it. Basically kind of directing us to it. To our attention. But yeah. Yeah. So that is the Emerald Nightmare raid. I really like this raid. I can tell you what, if you're curious about what's one of the reasons to come here, well, there are certain sets from the... that you can be able to farm pieces for here. As far as loot, that illusion is one thing. The other unique thing that you can get here is from Xavius. Let me see if I can actually find it. Huh. It's not showing up here. That's odd. Hold on. It's not showing it. Why isn't it showing it? That's so strange. Okay, oh wait, does it not drop on normal? Oh, that's right. Okay, silly me. I forgot it doesn't drop on normal. Only mythic and heroic. Okay, so if you're curious about what loot can you farm here, as high as, say, mythic, there are no mounts that you can actually farm here. There's the illusion, and then there are some other... there's at least one other cool, unique piece. One of which is this right here. His shoulders, which I finally got. I finally got these shoulders. I don't have the ones from Mythic. As you can see, it says that I haven't collected it. But I did get the ones from Heroic, and it looks exactly the same. There is basically no difference to them whatsoever. Yeah, you can see I have the appearance there, so... Yeah, really happy about that. That I was able to get these shoulders. Just to have them as an option if I want to use them, so... That's one of the unique things, but of course you need a leather class for that. But I'm still coming here to get this weapon illusion here. I'm hoping to eventually get it. I just have to actually commit to it, but whatever, so... So yeah, as far, when you think about it, this was, like I said, a big, culmination of a lot of setting up and teasing. They really wanted this to be good. Now, some have criticized this for being too easy of a raid. Some criticize the Xavius fight, but I've heard some people like Preach praise this raid and talk about that it actually is a good raid. And I think so too, and plus, I just think the incredible visual and audio design that they put into this raid was excellent. This was a long time coming. So this was a big deal. And it basically wraps things up. I think that is going to be the last we see of Xavius. Because by the end of Legion, I don't really think there's going to be a way for him to come back. Not to mention the end of BFA. Sargeras is gone, and N'Zoth is gone. I don't really think there's anyone else that can bring him back. I think we have now finally dealt with the Emerald, Nightmare, and Xavius for good. Fingers crossed. So, next, we'll be heading back to the Halls of Valor for Odin to ask us to do one more test before we try to take down Helya for good so we can free him from the curse that keeps him bound there. Yeah. And I finally figured out a way to actually deal with this first portion of the fight. I'll show you on my Death Knight next time. Stay tuned.